Hello and welcome to English with Confidence. If this is your first time here, I'm really glad you found us. Some fears don't disappear with age. They just change shape. Today's story is about one of those fears and the small moment that made it a little smaller. I want to tell you about the day I had to speak in front of my English class and why I almost didn't show up at all. My name is Mateo, and 2 years ago I joined an English class in the evenings after work. I was excited at first. I liked my teacher and I liked my classmates. We were all learning together, all making mistakes together, and that felt safe. But one evening, our teacher announced something that made my stomach drop. "Next week," she said, "everyone will give a short presentation, in English, in front of the whole class." I sat there, frozen, a presentation, in front of 12 people, my mind immediately filled with worry. What if I forgot my words? What if everyone stared at me while I struggled? What if I embarrassed myself? That night, I walked home slowly, thinking about all the ways I could avoid it. Maybe I could say I was sick that day. Maybe I could quietly stop coming to class altogether. The thought of standing in front of everyone felt heavier than anything else I had faced in this new language so far. But then I thought about my daughter. She was 7 years old, and every day she came home from school and told me long stories, full of mistakes, full of wrong words without any fear at all. She wasn't afraid of being wrong. She just spoke and let the words come out however they came out. I thought, if she can do that at 7, why can't I do it now? So instead of avoiding the presentation, I decided to prepare for it properly this time. I chose a simple topic, something I actually cared about. I decided to talk about my hometown, the small details that made it special to me, the food, the streets, the sounds in the morning. I wrote my presentation on paper first, in simple sentences I understood completely. Then, every night that week, I practiced saying it out loud, alone in my room. At first, I read directly from the paper, my voice flat and careful. By the third night, I could say most of it without looking down. By the fifth night, I almost knew it by heart. I still made mistakes during practice. I mixed up words sometimes. I forgot a sentence completely once and had to start again. But each time, instead of feeling defeated, I told myself, this is just practice. The real moment hasn't happened yet. The evening of the presentation finally arrived. I sat in class watching classmates go one by one. Some spoke smoothly. Others paused often, searching for words just like I expected I would. No one was perfect, and somehow that made me feel a little calmer. Then my teacher said my name. I stood up, and for a moment, my mind went completely empty. I couldn't remember a single word of my presentation. My hands were slightly shaking, and 12 pairs of eyes were waiting for me to begin. I took a slow breath, and I remembered my daughter, speaking without fear, without worrying about every mistake. I opened my mouth, and the first sentence came out. My hometown is a small town near the mountains, and it means everything to me. Once I said that first sentence, something shifted. The next sentence came a little easier. Then the next. I paused sometimes, searching for a word. Once, I said a sentence in the wrong order and quietly corrected myself the same way I had practiced. My teacher nodded encouragingly the entire time. I talked about the smell of bread from the bakery near my childhood home. I talked about the sound of rain on our roof at night. I talked about my grandmother's small garden and how she taught me the names of vegetables before I even started school. When I finished, there was a small pause, and then my classmates clapped. My teacher smiled and said, "That was beautiful, Mateo. I could really picture your hometown." I sat back down and my heart was still beating fast, but for a different reason now. Not fear, something closer to pride. After class that night, walking home, I thought about how heavy that fear had felt just 1 week earlier and how small it felt now that it was behind me. The presentation itself lasted only 3 minutes, but avoiding it, in my mind, had felt like it would last forever. I understood something important that night. Fear often feels much bigger before we face it than it actually is once we're standing inside the moment itself. If you are afraid of speaking in front of others in English, just like I was, I want you to remember something. You don't need to wait until the fear disappears completely. You only need to prepare a little, take one slow breath, and say the first sentence. The rest tends to follow. Before we finish today, let's remember a few useful words from this story. Frozen, this means unable to move or speak because of shock or fear. Presentation, this means speaking to a group of people about a topic. Practice, this means doing something repeatedly to improve at it. Defeated, this means feeling like you have failed or lost. Pride, this means a feeling of satisfaction in something you did well. Try making a sentence with one of these words and write it in the comments below. I'd love to read what you write. I hope Mateo's story reminded you today that the fear before speaking is almost always louder than the moment itself. As someone once said, you gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. Every presentation, every sentence, every moment you choose to speak instead of stay silent is building the confidence you're looking for. If this story helped you today, please subscribe to English with Confidence so you don't miss the next one. And if you know a friend who is also learning English, share this video with them. You might be exactly the encouragement they need today. Thank you for spending this time with me. Keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and I'll see you in the next story.